Just go for it.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm interviewing my father, David Martirano. Thank you for joining me, Dad. Really appreciate the time out of your schedule. This
Yep.
is for our Triple Me project. So it's basically how entrepreneurs get that creative gene in them and basically get raised and see how that fits into one of their four social styles. Those four social styles can be analytical, amiable, expressive, and or a driver. So with that, I think I'm going to start with which one of those four social styles do you think I would be, Dad, from raising me? And I mean, if you want me to repeat which four they are, it's
Yeah.
analytical.
Can you repeat them again? So,
Analytical, so it's basically the person who likes the stats, the Excel sheets.
yep.
Amiable, someone who's quiet and likes to listen, and then will give their takes after everyone is done talking. Expressive, the one who's fully just fun and embracive and ready to have a good time, full of energy. The driver, the one who wants to get one, two, three done steps in a row, that takes everything seriously. And those are the four that we've been studying so far in the course. Which one of the four would you say I am
I
from
would
are
I
there
would
any early
say
examples from my childhood?
I would say um the early parts of your childhood was amenable, where you were typically a quieter kid, a quieter baby, very easy to raise. It's funny, I was in a coffee shop yesterday with Jen, and there was these three wild kids running around, like knocking people over, like out of control. And that was like Max and Kelsey, and Max chasing Kelsey around. And you were like the quiet one in the corner, like calm, cool, and collective. Versus these three kids, and one of them knocked over Jen. Jen's like, "How fucking rude was that?" Excuse my French. Um, so I would say in your early years, for you, you're amicable. I would say as you've gotten older, I think college has made you more expressionable, where I feel like you've would keep stuff into yourself, and now you're sort of expressing your views. You listen, you take it all in, and then you'll turn around and give a view where I think when you were younger you wouldn't as much. And I think now as you've grown up and gotten to college, you definitely have been more expressive. At least my experience with you in the last 3 or 4 years, you've definitely become more expressive, more opinionated than I typically saw you when you were younger.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that one. And I was funny. One of my other questions was going to be because I've been told as a baby I was one of the more patient babies. So I was going to ask
Oh,
how would you describe my
fantastic.
personality as a toddler and how did it evolve as I grew up?
That's what I would say. I would say as a baby, you were a very easy baby. You entertained yourself. You were easy to manage. You were not. And I would say as you've gotten older, I think it's you come out of your shell. I think you are thoughtful, and I think you are analytical around your comments when you have a view on a person or a situation or a dynamics. I think you're say less, but are more precise and thoughtful in your responses. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I would say I like to take my time and, be calm, collected, and think things over first before I rush into anything. I would agree with that. Was
I
there
would say
one
a little slow
Jurassic?
on the drive.
Oop,
I would say a little slow on the drive. I'd like you and your brother to be a little more uptake on the drive, but that's okay.
yeah, I would definitely define my sister more as a driver and analytical type of person.
Correct. I would say driver. I would say Kelsey gets shit done.
I would say she gets analytical at times too. I would say she could be
Okay.
analytical.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. But I'm saying that trait of getting stuff done, like it's just a trait. I think that I look at my list right here. I have in front of me. I just got like 7 things done. I just crossed off my list. It's sent credit card to my son, Max. Mail taxes, got my flu shot. Talk to the power guy to do the power. So it's just I have that drive and check things off the box and get shit done.
was there one drastic change that you made as a parent that shaped me today? It's
One
kind of a loaded
dramatic,
question.
one dramatic change that changed you as a kid today. Uh,
We can also revisit that if you need more time on that question.
I think the dramatic changes for you. I think one thing that your mom and I did well with you all is we pushed you to try different things. And I think you, from art to, I clearly drove the bus on sports. And I think certain things you succeeded at and certain things you didn't, but we were always encouraging you to try other things like being involved with like what was that
I did
that
fencing for a minute. I did
and,
swimming at the Quinessa
and
Country
did you ever
Club.
do chess club? Did you ever do chess
I
club?
did chess club. I actually have that out here too. I did chess club both at
Yeah,
Eldridge and
I think it
Wheeler.
was
Yeah.
I think we tried to expose you to as many things as possible. And some were successful, some weren't. And I think we got to a point where we pushed you hard enough, but not like some people
Over the
push.
edge.
Like, yeah, I think we pushed you into to sports, and like I was part of that, and I think when you knew it was time, like like everyone hangs up their cleats at some point, whether it's element like Kelsey hung up her soccer cleats at U8, I mean, some people hang up their cleats, in high school and college. At some point, everyone hangs up your cleats, and I think we were pretty good, and I think you were pretty good at knowing when to sort of hang up your cleats, and this is kind of where I was going in a different direction. I also think you've also shown maturity um, in terms of like I'll just use golf as an example where I think you realized, it's something that you didn't gravitate to when you were young. Your brother was
Mhm.
much more into it than you were. But I think as you've gotten older, I think you realize it's important part of, the industry you're going into. And so do you have to be the best golfer? No, but you have to feel comfortable to go play. And I think you taken that on your own and embrace that with that, I think you've done a great job. And so I think, knowing that sometimes, okay, it didn't work the first time, but I wanted to revisit it. And now I understand and I kind of matured and grew up. Like I was shocked that you were playing so much golf in Charlotte. I was pretty shocked.
Yeah, every weekend
Um,
you make sure you get out there once a week.
no, I know. I was like I said, I couldn't convince you when you were little to come play golf with me. I tried because I wanted to go play golf at Quinessa, but you wouldn't come, and you were my excuse to have your mother not have me go play golf or have me go play golf, and you didn't have any interest in it, which was fine. That's where you were in life. But I think it's being able to mature and be adaptable around those things. I think is really come together.
That's funny you bring up the sports because I was going to bring my next question. I mean, you can see anyone who knows me knows I love sports. I live and breathe and die by it
Yeah.
every day, 24/7. So when do you think the early stages of my passion for just the idea of sports started? Because again, you just said it yourself, I wasn't the best athlete, but man, oh man, whenever it was on the TV, I could not get myself away from it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when, but I would argue that you were non-traditional in the sense of most kids who play sports and are really good athletes gravitate to sports. And I feel like a lot of kids, I was even thinking you just went to theater at LaSalle. You did that. I remember you did the
Yeah, I did
plays,
that too.
talking about trying different things. Um, but I think it goes to your sense of understanding and really, and this is what I've preached to all three of my kids, which is if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And I think that is really key. And I think you've really gravitated to sports more than your brother, who I would argue was a better athlete. And your sister, I just think it's just even more than I, and I'm a big sports guy. And so I think you've gravitated towards it because it's something you're passionate about and you love. And I think that's fantastic. And I think creating a career and a job out of that, which is where you're going, I think will benefit you immensely in the future. Because, look, you have to go to work every day. And I think it's something that, if you love what you do, like I said, you don't work a day in life. And I think that's important.
Yeah, but we've talked a little bit about my siblings and how I'm the youngest. I think you're gonna love this question because you know where I'm going with this one. But being the youngest yourself, how do you think that impacted the way you raised me?
Uh, I don't impacted you,
Never really
I,
thought of it.
I never really thought about how it impacted you, but I would say that there is, and I truly believe this, that depending on where you are in the order of birth amongst your siblings, you do have a different perspective.
Absolutely.
And I think the youngest child, um, because of where they are, because of the people ahead of them, are been much more focused on them, have much more of an independence and a level set of and a balance to be able to really assess situations and manage through them more complex than an older child. If I look at me as a young child relative to my brother, if I look at Jennifer as a young child relative to her older sister, I even look at Auntie as a younger child to her, your mom, who's an older sibling. Um, I think there's an inherent pattern. You can look at you relative to your brother Max. I think you
Yeah.
guys are very different. And I think for whatever reason, Jennifer and I always talk about the youngest child being, he's asked me a question about how the youngest child versus the oldest
Oh,
child.
we're just talking about you.
The younger people are always, the younger child are always the nicer people.
They're the givers, not the takers.
Exactly.
So I always live by, you can put this in your quote. There's two kinds of people in this world. There's givers and there's takers. And I feel like the oldest child's a taker and the youngest child's a giver. And I think that's inherent in relationships and people. Like, for example, Kelsey and Ryan is a giver and a taker.
Yeah, that is a good example. I can't
Kelsey and
disagree with that
Max is
one.
a giver and a taker. There's a giver and a taker. So no, I think and I do think there's lots of examples you can give of that. I think single childs throw that out. I think middle childs are different, but I think older and younger something. I think part of it's just you're born and you're just so much of a presence put on you when you're the first child. It's just very different. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, you have a ton of life lessons to give me and a lot of wisdom, and you just gave a few great quotes of, two kinds of people, givers and takers. Growing up, there's always one lesson that I will never forget you taught me. It was the days we would drive to hockey and we listened to B101, a song called Cats in the Cradle came on, and I'll never
Oh,
forget you ingrained what that message that meant to me, or it meant to you in terms of the song. What other
yeah.
life lessons or important values did you want to put in me during childhood?
I think the drive point is important. I think it's my view is always work as hard as you can all the time at everything you do. And you won't be successful at it most of the time. But I think as long as you put your best effort forward and try your best, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can only be such a good athlete. But what I don't like is someone who doesn't try and put effort in. And I think, look, you can move on, but I think really putting an effort into whether it's schoolwork or whether it's work or relationships, it goes across the board. Even making my bed in the morning, I put an effort. I make a bed. I think it's a really important lesson learned that go and try to do your best at everything you do, whether it's even taking out the garbage. And I think it reflects on you longer term and how you are as a person. And I think people that half-ass stuff all the time, they half-ass their practice, they half-ass their life, and I think that's what happens. I think so. So for me, maybe it's a little too intense, but I think if you put the best foot forward you can all the time, I think it pays benefits. And look, I've had a lot of success and I've had a fucking ton of failures and a lot of bankrupt companies and I've a lot of issues. But I think if you try your best, you'll never look back and regret, I should have tried harder, I should have done this, I should have done that. As long as you do your best and try your best, that's all you can ask for.
Another question, how impactful do you think 25 Lenahan Lane was to my childhood?
Very impactful. I think most people will go back. In terms of the neighborhood, I think most people will go back and wish they had a childhood in a neighborhood like that.
Hmm.
I think it was a special place. I wish Layla had that. Here we don't have it, but I think that and that was driven by your mother to move into that. Look, we knew we needed to move out of 85 Balsam Drive because there was no one young there in the neighborhood. It was a neighborhood that was changing, but it hasn't changed.
Yeah, we had one neighbor.
We had one neighbor, yeah, exactly. And I think moving to 25 Lenahan Lane, um, was a phenomenal experience for you growing up as kids, having lots of kids in the neighborhood, things to do. It was that lifestyle, which I think 25 Lenahan Lane doesn't have that anymore. I think it's changed. I think, it doesn't have the new. I know a lot of people who live in 25 Lenahan Lane or in that neighborhood who wish they had what we had because there's a lot of people who haven't moved out and it just hasn't turned over and there's older people, younger people, and I think it was really impactful to learn how to interact with kids and make friends in the neighborhood. And some of these kids will be lifelong friends.
Hmm. What were some of the first milestones you remember from my early baby years? My first words, either first steps or anything like that, that you were just very proud of in terms of being a baby and conquering those goals.
I think your mom's better at this than I am.
Yeah.
She's definitely much better at it than I am. I have all the videos of you too. A lot of it was of Max and Kelsey. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I can tell you this is definitely her thing because I was going to bring up the bus neighborhood thing with her.
Yeah. No, I think yeah, no, I think she's definitely better at answering this question than I will be. But I think for you it was I think you were just I think we loved having you around because you were such an easy baby to be a part of everything. And I think when we had you, it was just kind of like you were the last of it. And Max and Kelsey were off doing their things. And I felt like when we had you, I think it was one of those areas where, I just think it was you were the baby and we loved it. I would say the one thing I remember the most is how much my mother loved having you down in Narragansett and being a part of you because at that point Max and Kelsey were off and she just loved having you down there with her. I know you don't remember her as much, but she used to always raise her hand to babysit for you and be a part of it.
That's so funny you bring that up because we had to write 5 memories you'd bring in a suitcase for class, and the first one I put was cereal, and they didn't understand why I put cereal, and the whole reason I put cereal is because I'd always sneak off like in the middle of the night, and Grandma would
Cocoa
always be
Puffs.
up, and we would always eat the Cocoa Puffs,
Yeah, Cocoa Puff. I
sugar
just
cereal.
watched Beverly Hills Cop the other day on the airplane coming back from Ireland, and I was thinking about you guys.
Yeah,
And that movie, and I was watching, and I was like, "What a great movie this was!" And it's still a great movie to this day. And I remember you guys watched that. I was like, "Mom, there's a strip scene in there. Like, what are you doing, bringing the kids to watch the Beverly Hills
but it's
Cop?"
Axel Foley.
Exactly, it was awesome. No, I mean, like she always wanted to spoil you guys and be to the beach. There was lots of good beach memories, and she always had you guys at the beach, and that was kind of her thing. And I think it was a
Yeah,
good.
she wanted to be involved, which was
Yeah,
huge.
always,
That was
always.
very, very big for us. Continuing off that, what were some of your other favorite memories you had from my childhood?
I like. I feel like you were a hockey guy. Max wasn't really that much of a hockey guy, and I felt like we used to go to all the hockey tournaments, and I used to love going to
The
the different
vineyard.
tournaments you could go to. We went to Martha's Vineyard, and I felt like you had a bunch of. I felt like hockey was more you. I don't know why, but I don't know if Max was doing other things, but I felt like you were much more of the hockey guy than Max, and I felt like just spending time doing that. Early mornings, road trips, things like that. I always felt was a really good thing.
Those all
And we did it
takeaways.
quite well. Those were good things. We always had things at the pool, in 21 Lincoln, that was always fun doing stuff like that. But I just think just, being around and doing that, those are the ones I think we really spent time together with was the hockey stuff. Just because I think you spent a lot of it and I was just more involved with you with that than I was with Max or Kelsey or any other stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, going off that, I mean, the only other I found another way we bonded between the two of us. I mean, we talked a little bit about B101, the radio station we listened to. A
Yeah,
big thing was I'll never forget was always going to the aquarium
totally.
in
That was a good
Connecticut.
one.
That was always a big thing for
A
me,
day
just because
off and
like
go do that.
it finally just like there was times where I mean you have 3 kids, you're busy, you're all at times, but there was little times where I could have those one-on-ones with you. Those really did go a long way. And
I
I just
remember
felt
that.
that those were in the middle of nowhere, and I just never knew where we were going. And then we finally got there. I was like, "Oh my God, it's Coco, it's the little seal."
Exactly. And I remember it was a day during the week I took off and we just did it. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, no, those are the good things you got to remember to do. It was great. I remember the aquarium. I haven't been to the aquarium in a long time. But we
Yeah,
used to,
I want to go back too. But Max and Grace and them all went when we were where were we? We were somewhere. I think I don't know where we were. I was with you somewhere. We were off, but they went to summer, and I was like, "Oh my God, they're there."
really,
Like Coco's not there anymore.
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it was
Uh,
good. Those are fun times for sure. Interesting.
yeah, that's all the questions I have. I really appreciate you taking the time
Wow, we took
meeting
a
with
lot
me
of
that
time.
day.
It's 11:25. This is good. It's 20, at least 20
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, where do we go? We'll cook through it.
Yeah.
Thank you again. And
Anything
yeah,
about the dyslexia stuff?
you know what the thing, you know what the problem with that was? It was I can do it. The thing is, it's she's looking for 0 to 12.
Well, that's when we that's when, well,
that I felt like that was closer because like there's a section that's
sixth
12
grade.
to 18.
How old are you in sixth grade? Isn't that 12? 12 years
Like
old?
that's like towards the end of it. Like there's a section
Yeah.
that's 12 to 18.
Yeah, I would say that
So
dyslexia
that would
is
put more
a lot
that would put that more. And that's the only reason I didn't bring that one up as much. I think she's trying us to focus more on like the actual like childhood part of it because
yeah, that makes
you're really
sense.
only a kid until you're 13. And I
Yeah.